Cool. Hey Josie, how are you going?
Yeah, I'm good, Tim.
Yeah, so I don't know. There's been a lot going on in the last couple of years, and with you, and I think we'll just start. Where are you? Where are you now? And what are you up to?
Okay, so I'm actually today I'm over in Brisbane.
Yep.
Just got here, jumped off the plane, and finally had 2 seconds to sit down, have a cup of tea, and we finally have a connection. We finally have a good time to have a yarn. So
Yeah. It's been
yeah,
I guess trying to line things up because you've been very busy and everything. But tell us about the campaign you're involved in, the Save Our Songlines. I think that's a really interesting space. It's so relevant with what's going on with the climate and everything, and the rock art.
yeah. Absolutely. So I suppose where we started from was a place of not knowing anything. Up in Karratha and Murujuga, more to the point, which is just on the Dampier, near Dampier. It's on the Burrup Peninsula, and we have the world's oldest rock art. There's millions of pieces of rock art there, and we had a phone call. There'd been protests down in Perth, and a lot of people talking up down in Perth about what's going on up there on the peninsula and in Murujuga. And my niece happened to just put her hand up and go, "I'm Malafunia," and they were like, "Hey," some people went, "Hey, you Malafunia? You're from up there, yeah?" And they've been trying to get a hold of anybody from up there, any custodians from up there for ages, but were being blocked for some reason. And so my niece just rang me out of the blue and goes, "Mum Joyce, can you? There's some fellas that want to come and talk to you. So they want to come up and see the site. And there's all this. There's been protests down here about Murujuga." And I went, "Okay, I've got a backyard, no worries, they can stay here." So they came, they camped. Within a week, I've got four strangers camping in my backyard and who became automatic friends and allies, and sat there and telling me about what's happening, with the rock art, what's happening with the emissions, what's happening, new industry coming in, this gas pipeline that's going all the way, out to the sea, and this is the one James Price Point. They wanted to stop. They stopped there, and now they want to put it in your country. And it was like, oh hell no. We actually sat there, and my niece Raylene, who was with us at the time, and my daughter, we just all sort of cried because we were been doing a lot of sort of work out there with the country, with our family lines and stuff like that, and for many years, and so we know how important that place is, and to everybody. And yeah, we just went, what the heck? And I was just automatically just said straight out, I said, look, we need the information. We need the information. We need to feed this information out to people as the custodians of this place. Thus, Save Our Songlines was made. So they sort of said, well, what are we going to call it? What can we do? And we just organically made this campaign of awareness. And there was, there's no money involved. There's no nothing. It's just us as volunteers for the last year with a lot of super intelligent people who've been fighting this for a very long time, volunteering their time to help us to understand, firstly, how we can get our messages out, and then what messages they are to, and then to everybody, and also, how to weave our way through all those the governmental um, policies and procedures and all the things that they lay on you, because we just basically looking for our rights. We sort of made this, we've just made this campaign that's here, Save Our Songlines, yeah. And the songlines are basically our connection to the country and what we teach our kids, and the cultural, the cultural stuff that we hold very dear to our hearts. We traditional healers, me and my family, so we really hold that connection very strong to the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the whole thing with you got to a corporation, international corporation like Woodside wanting to put the biggest gas project in the world off the Northwest Shelf, and then feed this gas pipeline through country, and the impact is just unbelievable. And do you find that when you talk to people about it, they're pretty shocked? Like,
There was a major shock. I mean, we were shocked when we found out. So I can just only imagine what people, get told when we tell them about it, because our heart and souls are in this, our everything. That's, they hold our our blueprints of who we are in those stories. And so yeah, people are very shocked, the way that we talk about it as well, because we've always been taught to go through the heart center. And so when we talk about this place and we talk about, raising that awareness, it's always through the heart, and to touch people's hearts about it, because that's, when people get a feeling about something, then it's when they start to do the action, they start to action things. And I mean, we've had, I suppose, so much support as we've been going along, and in the last year we've done so much. It's pretty incredible. We were sort of looking back on it, with some friends and going, wow, we've got all the way up to the environmental minister coming to country on Monday. She came down and spoke to my niece and my daughter on Monday night out on country. How does that happen? We just, wow.
And have you found that because you've been advocating for, like, it's gone from 0 to 100 so quickly, like this whole campaign?
Yes.
Has Woodside tried to approach you about it, or have they tried to
No,
reach out
they
or
won't.
anything?
No, they just think we're extremists, and but they won't reach out, because they know that we have, that place is a heart and soul of who we are, and it doesn't matter what they say to us. They haven't reached out to say anything at all. They haven't wanted to have meetings. I mean, we actually, when we had a left people's names on it from the community, and there was, an ex-chair who was Ray. There was an ex-cultural heritage manager who was Patrick Turnside, and my little bro, and they'd stepped down out of Murujuga because they could see there was some not really good deals going on here, and the advocacy for the country just wasn't there anymore. I mean, I suppose we had elders that were on the Elders Council. We had some, a lot of people signed that open letter, and we took it down to the Parliament House. And I suppose the responses we got, we were just cut off by government for everything, and we know why. They're just handshaking with the industry, just for dollars, and so that. Then we meant to have a meeting with Woodside the same day, and we got on the call just like this one sort of thing. And you think they got on? No. And then we actually had it. We were on live on our page, our Facebook page, and the same. We're here. We're waiting for Woodside. We've got no answer. And then they must have saw that 2 hours later. They text message us and say, oh, there must have been something wrong. You didn't get in. And we were sitting there waiting. And I mean, this is the sort of games they play. So, and it's really sad to think that we actually get used to that. We shouldn't be used to that. Challenging the system is something we should be doing, and we shouldn't be used to challenging the system, because the system should be something that is put in place for us to actually navigate through as people, as human beings, to have to have our rights, their responsibilities, to make them accountable for being where they are, I suppose, as well.
And how big's the coalition? Like, with there are a lot of groups working with you and trying to get this, trying to fight back. How broad is it at the moment?
Look, you just you look up all around Australia. There are people fighting on country for their country. They're they're putting in things like Section 9s, like we have to the Environmental Minister. They're starting to write letters, and people are supporting them and writing emails to the government, because of the and you know, we've seen climate change happen rapidly in the last 2 years, in you know, like 5 years in Australia alone, and you know, then it's like a wake up call. So, you know, people are starting to go, what, why? You know, asking questions why, and we should be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And did and the way that you, but because I was looking at the story before, and with you went and visited the UN to raise the issue there.
Mm.
How did that come about?
Oh, look, that was amazing. I mean, Dorinda Cox, she's a beautiful sister girl of mine. She actually came up. She was one of the only one of the only politicians that actually saw what was going on there. She was, you know, she became the senator. She came, and she actually came up with her kids and her mum, and she brought her, you know, and she just came to kind of ask us what was going on. Someone had got in contact with us, and then she came up and she stayed with us for a couple of days. She came out on country with us. She is connected so deeply, and it was really beautiful to have her and her mum there. And she just understood totally what we were talking about. And then, you know, the day that she took it into, you know, she took the fight to the government, and into Parliament House, was an amazing, actually it was a night time, it was actually amazing, like seeing her there. I started crying, going, oh my god, someone's actually listening. They've taken it there, like right up to that level, to Parliament House, and she's a senator and she's in there and she's fighting for us. And so I think for me that was amazing. And then after that we kept in contact a lot, and one day she sort of just rings me and goes, you got a passport? And I'm like, yep. She goes, do you want to go to Geneva? I said, oh heck yeah, I sure do. So we basically, you know, as it turned out, Ray and I sort of just got, Ray and I put the application in to Geneva, to go uh, through Save Our Songlines, and I got a yes from them. You know, things just, like I said, things just sort of happen organically. So it's a matter of if you want something, you just go for it. And it was, you know, a friend of mine just said, just do it yourself. Just get on and apply yourself to go. I was like, oh, okay, just under Save Our Songlines. Oh, okay, all right. You know, because as it goes, people get, you know, swayed by other things, especially when they're in a big position like that. You know, poor Dorinda. So I just sort of basically went, right, I've got to, yeah, because I knew I had to get there. I knew that this had to be, this awareness needed to be raised all around the world, and so yeah, basically yes, got all the approvals to go, and then we did some great fundraising, and to get Ray there, and I was lucky enough that my group paid for me to go, which was amazing. Which is so, you know, supportive that your own, you know, your own group would actually help you to get there to do, you know, to go and talk at the United Nations. So I flew to Geneva, and Ray and I, and we were at the United Nations Rights for Indigenous People conference, and there were Indigenous people all around the world there. And I was just blown away because every single one of them had a story similar to ours. But I suppose it made me look at things a lot differently, because we're not getting killed. We've already had that. We've, you know, 200 years ago our mob got killed and slayed, and you know, our land's desecrated and taken over. These guys are still it's still happening to some people. You know, their villages are getting torn down now. They're because the takeover, the military's coming in. They're burning their communities. You know, their houses, their huts down. There was one guy from the Amazon who came in, and he was, you know, he was so distraught because he said these women's names, and he said these are the women that should be here talking now, but they were here in 2016 and they can't be here now because when they went back and spoke, they all got killed. He goes, so I'm here talking on their behalf. This is how incredibly, um, I suppose that it's hard to even put a word to it. Uh, um, it's just absolutely, it's just it makes you just go, it makes you cringe because you think, how can these people have so much disrespect for human life and our nature and our land? But over here they're doing it in such a way where the invisible poison is coming out into the world. It's they're just pumping it out. Nobody can see it. The emissions that are coming out of there, they're actually destroying the rock art. And we've seen, I've actually seen the rock art in the last 20 years of living up there and going fishing out on country and stuff. And I've seen the rock art be desecrated. I've seen it fade away as well. There's things that used to be there that aren't there anymore, and the colouring is all getting degraded. And you think to yourself, why are they doing it? Why here? Why in this place?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sacred.
Yeah. What does it
Yeah.
all mean at the end of the day when, it's not, what's the end game? We've got a few, it's, we're going to be here. Like, this company's temporary, the money's temporary, and it all
Mm,
comes back to this sort of values of life and country. Like, I don't know. It's like a lot of things are intersecting at the same time,
mm,
and um, there's a lot of questions about why. But I guess it all comes back to sort of that greed point, and it's a common, as you mentioned, it's a common story across the world. And how did you find when
it
you
is, yeah.
when you put your story forward there? How did people take it? Like, it would have been quite significant.
Just because they just accept it. It resonates with people. It doesn't even matter what language you speak. When you say, you're there to protect country and you're not being heard, it's the same narrative over and over again. People are not being heard. The grassroots people are not being heard. Their stories are not getting heard. The reasoning why they're trying to protect their country, it's not getting heard, and so it's just it's unfathomable that they actually do, that they can actually do this. But I mean, coming back to here in Australia, we have the same thing, and we have tribes and we have different groups all around Australia standing up fighting for their country now, and you know this is our country, right? And we, it's like they've just taken over, and they're doing a big land grab. And where they're doing the land grab is where all the sacred sites are in Australia. These are our salt lines, and they're doing it from here to there. And I mean, I'm sitting here in Brisbane today because I'm going out to the Warrangal mob, um, and down in over in the Adani Carmichael mine, and we're going to stay out there for a week with them guys. This is their 1 year on occupation on country, and so we've got a lot of things planned to go out there and just to meet other mob. This is happening too as well. And that collaboration of information, I think, is the key that we need in in this time. That everything's sort of changing, and we need to take lead from each other. Like I saw you the other day down there, fighting for country, um, doing lives and that, getting that awareness out to people, and that's exactly what we need. We need to be able to come together and black, white, brindle. Doesn't matter who you are. Everyone has a voice, but when we're united and we have a big voice, well, this is where we can make those make the government, make those industries accountable for what they're doing with Mother Earth. Because if we don't have her to stand on, we've got nothing. We are nothing without her. Yeah, and we can see that because the plants and the animals, they're suffering as well along with us. So
And on that point, like what you said before, that point, it's so significant. Like, and the group, the Adani mob, are just, they've been fighting that fight for a long time, and for you to be on that country, that's something else. Adani in itself isn't just another shade, another brand of
Mm.
Woodside, really. And so
Yep.
how long are you going to be out there for?
So we're staying out for the whole week and camping out on country with them on the just yeah in that beautiful country that's just getting wrecked and ruined, and and there to support as well, support them, hear their story, and hear whoever else's story there is to hear, because I think it's really important that we share stories. It's really important that, like I said, awareness is everything. People need to know exactly what's going on, even though it's 4 hours drive inland of it's in the middle of nowhere. There's something huge happening there, and that's something huge that's happening, right at your doorsteps, or along, a long way from you. That has a big impact on us, and it has a big impact on our future, our families. People just, don't realize it because we live in little bubbles. And so, when we actually start thinking a little bit about, and just educating people about what is actually going on and how this actually affects everybody. It's not just us. We're not standing here, um, trying to keep the world sustainable, um, and fighting these causes for nothing. This is what our old people did. This is what our ancestors did, and that's why that's why you know that's why there's thousands and thousands and thousands of year old you know artifacts and all sorts of stuff still in the country, and the stories are still there. Yeah, they've been waiting. They've been waiting to teach us and to you know give us a new way of life, of sustainability, and the industrial revolution is over and done with now. We need to go look into green, you know, going green now. We need to look into sustainable energy. We need to look into, you know, stop taking all the resources from Mother Earth, and start thinking and foreseeing a better future for our children, for our grandkids, for their kids. It goes on, and it's and not not even about ours. It's about everybody,
Mm.
because we're all human,
Yeah.
and we all have to live here together. Yeah, so it's it is time for change, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, yeah, at that point,
Yeah.
have you found, since like you've this campaign has like gone over the top of, there's been a big federal election in Australia. Have you found there's been a difference between the government's approach, like since Labor took over federally, or
Um. Oh well, look, definitely. I mean, just the environmental minister was up on country with us, and actually listened to what we had to say, um, and that's one step closer than anything, than just saying a yes and then a reject. Building hope and then going, no, we reject it right at the last minute, the right last hour, as Susan Ley did, to us. And so there was no real interaction there. There was no real there was no harm in what they were doing. I see a little bit now. I still think we are in a captured state, and industry sort of need to start to either wind down and get off our country, or find other solutions of of the creating less emissions, and creating less destruction and devastation to the country around them where they are, because that's the whole thing, right? Is you know why would you want to keep expanding and expanding and expanding on a country that's, especially ours, that is it's we're in the middle of a World Heritage listing, as well, with UNESCO. So with the rock art, I mean, the rock art should have been World Heritage listed a very long time ago, and the government of the day you know has postponed it for 3 years, in all their glory. And why would you do that?
the UNESCO listing. So that whole thing, they've delayed it for 3 years.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I mean, when we hold a story, and we we actually told the Murujuga Cultural Heritage Manager our story that was meant to go into that world listing. It didn't make it. So you start to wonder, you think to yourself, what the hell? Why why isn't our story in there? Why isn't it in that listing? Why, and we know why. Because, it's all a big game they play. It's whoever's got the most money, whoever's doing the underhanded shakes under the table, it just comes down to the coin, really, and that's what it all. And there's no benefit for anybody else. There's no benefit for anybody in those five language groups. That for someone getting paid off money to say yes and sign off on such projects. It's just you just think, why would you do that to your own people?
Yeah, I was going to ask you
Mm,
about
mm.
tactics and what have they done to try and divide you? Have they tried to do that to try and make sure that there isn't a unified voice behind opposing the project?
Oh yeah, definitely. Look, they do. They try and get people, try to get other people as the corporation to go and come in and tell them what these stories are and this, that, and the other, and you know, they distort the truth and of what it is. They basically, their propaganda is just lies. Really, it's they. I mean, they've had a video just come out, and a lot of it is them saying how they want to protect the country and this, that, and the other. But then, talk about on one hand, and then they're back in the meeting room with the Woodsides and the Perdamans, and signing off on country, and saying it's okay to actually remove rock art that is some of the oldest rock art in the whole entire. It is the oldest rock art in the whole entire world. I mean, I look at it and I just go, well, in France, they don't let people even breathe on their rock art. They've made a whole replica of rock art for people to see, and that's good enough. But, and they don't let people breathe on it, let alone have, the likes of a fertilizer company and a gas company sitting there just putting all the emissions over the rock art, this ancient old rock art. And like we say all the time, they wouldn't have done it to the pyramids. They wouldn't do it to the Taj Mahal. I mean, hello, like what are you thinking? What are they thinking? Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's quite something, and I think just from being a part of the climate space and fighting these battles, it looks like they're worried though. They've got you go all around Perth and there's like these big signs that like they're really pushing the PR.
Definitely.
This is clean. This is the future and stuff. And you go, well, if it's the future, then why the hell is it? Like
There's
what?
no future
Yeah,
in it. There's only a future for them.
yeah,
I mean, we're already buying water, bottled water. What's next? Bottled air. You know what I mean? It's like because they're contaminating the water and they're contaminating the air.
yeah. And they're
Mm,
just trying to and putting a price on everything seems to be yeah the new
absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the unrest around the world
Mm,
that we're seeing right now, and I don't know, like it just seems like it was meant to be in a way, like, and I've spoken about this before with other folks about how you know it's almost like in the previous elections, it's obviously there's a housing crisis and all those other things, but at the heart of everything is there's an environment, there's a human impact that is
that's
really yeah
exactly. Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, you think about it, and everybody lives in an environment, right? So our environment sort of it alters exactly the way that we live, we think, we breathe, we do things, right? And the actions that we take. So, when that environment is unstable, and Mother Earth is unstable, how do you think it? How do people think it feels for us? We becoming unstable as a civilization. You can see there's people at war. There's people road raging each other, like in front of your face. Like it's like common occurrence, and that how can something such as going to war and even just as something so it sort of feels insignificant as road rage or one hit punches and things like that, or racism or whatever. Everything that comes down to it, it's injustice, and it's injustice that's brought down to scale through down to the grassroots people like us who just want to make a change in the world, and and then there's and bring that awareness to people like us who don't know as well. I mean,
Well,
yeah.
and that's the thing. What I find really interesting is asking people about their journey. Do you ever like think, years ago, like 10 years, I don't know. Do you ever think that you'd be involved in like a campaign? Do you ever think
No.
you'd ever be like 10 years ago? Did you ever think you would be like at the UN talking about preserving country? Did you ever think that would ever
Yeah.
happen, or how did?
you,
Yeah.
you know it's funny because I always wanted to do work with the United Nations. And I always, it was like a dream of mine, like I wanted to be a teacher, so I became a teacher. I wanted to, but actually, the UN was always a real heart thought of mine. And I think I never ever dreamed that I'd ever get to Geneva, that's for sure. You only ever hear about those things, the Geneva Convention, this, that, and the other. And it's but I know I didn't. I never thought that I'd actually ever get there. But in my heart of hearts, I really knew that one day I had to, because I've always been an advocate in the community. I've always done, I became a teacher. I did the football with the kids, long time ago. And, I've done a lot in the community and within the community while I've been back home. So, for 20 years. And it was always, and the thing with me, it was always to help somebody, to get to better somebody or to help them along on their journey. I don't believe I'm taking this big journey on my own and not bringing people with me. So I think that's the most important thing is doing that. So when I did get to the UN, it was a dream come true for me, most definitely. But like I said, in my heart of hearts, I knew I had to go there. I knew that someone had to stand up, and I knew that there's, I, with even with community, people talk and they like, oh, what are they doing? Especially when it comes to culture and the educating about environment, because they're so close together, conservation and environment and culture. They go hand in hand. So, you're going to always have your naysayers. You're always going to have people just never ever change their minds. But you have to try, right?
Mm.
You have to do it. You've got to step up.
Absolutely. And do you
Yeah.
do you find that like having being in the midst of this fight, how do you describe your home? Like, I mean, I like to visualize. I know I know it's like this big. It's massive. It's bigger than anything because
Yeah.
it is. But how do
Look,
you? I just sort of like find that really interesting. Is that it's
well,
always
it's so funny because I became I became a dual bedroom owner. I might as well say, it's like it's like the house is you get put into two places where you sleep and you think about these things at night time constantly, and you sort of but it also broadens and expands um, the the love, I suppose, of it, um, from home, and a lot of people who have been fighting it. There's people that have fought this fight before me, and I honour them, totally honour them, and they just got shut down. They got taken out, and their voices weren't heard properly, and I just knew in my heart that I had to stand up and say and just keep talking and talking no matter what. Push through, and so yeah, the home becomes this beautiful mansion of individuals and people come into your life and then go out of your life, and but everyone is for the same reason, and I really honour that. I feel very blessed at times that I can I can actually say that I stepped out of the box and did something that was that could have got me killed. It could have. I mean, it could have. Anything could have happened to me. Yeah, and my family and stuff like that. But we were kept safe, and we did it all heart centered the way that we should have done it, and we're going to keep doing it that way. And it's about that connection.
Yeah.
So
It's and
yeah.
how do you find like this is building? I don't think it's going to stop. How do you what advice would you give to someone? There's a lot of, a lot more young people connected now on the internet and things, and
Mm,
looking at how do you because you're always fighting the battle, and we've got to be
mm.
in it for the long haul. How do you encourage people to get involved?
Oh, I just, like I always say to people, is just to learn. If you're interested in it, just learn. And there's opportunities everywhere to learn about this. I mean, I learnt about it in the short time that I've been here. And I said I want to know what chemicals are coming out of there. What are they actually doing? We had no idea. Um, you know, what is that process that you went through, that we go through to tell the government we don't want this, and that everything is learning, and it's about, I suppose, again, taking those steps to talk to people, to connect with people, because there are people with so much information out there on a lot of the cogs in the wheel, I suppose, that make things move. So and it's about joining those cogs, and actually getting each one of them to work within this sort of campaign, to and always bringing in new stuff as well. New information is the key, and I've always said information is always the key, to campaigns, and to getting awareness out there.
Yeah. And how do you
Yeah.
what are the sort of next steps you think in the sort of campaign? I know
Wow.
that's a broad question, but
It's
yeah,
so much. So at the moment,
yeah,
we're really focused on the on Tanya Plibersek and the environmental minister, to see what she's going to do with our section 9 and 10. So the section 9 is, of course, not moving those rocks, and knowing the significance of them, and getting Perdaman to hopefully move, and do an investigation. The section 10 is about the investigation, and the government actually putting in an independent investigator to go in and just investigate what is actually happening there, with the industry, with the government, with and the whole area that they want to take over there. It's the whole lot is culturally significant. So I think it's that, but also mobilising community as well, to be able to come in and start giving them a platform to be able to speak. We've just had, like the New York Times there. We've had, we have CNN's coming out with, their story as well very soon. So we're starting to go international with this as well. So I think the more people that know, the better. And then investors are also looking at that as well. And it's like, do they really want to invest in something that is so culturally, they're having a part of changing something that's so culturally significant to the world, that holds this big world story on it. And so it's a big thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's wild considering, the whole the project, like it could go up to 2070. Like how do those investors and all that be thinking, Jesus, like this world that we live in now is, we're talking another 50 years, like of hooking,
Mm,
potentially having this project go, and there's stranded assets and all those kinds of
yeah.
conversations going on. But when they see those pictures, I'm sure
Yeah.
it must touch something. It must.
That's right. And I tell you, we're not going to be. another thing is that, this is why we do what we do, because we're not going to be the only ones speaking on this. Our voices are not going to be silenced, and so we're really paving a way for our other community members and the younger ones to step up and come in and start talking now, because it's their kids that are going to suffer in 2070. And it's, if we don't change attitudes now, then and teach our kids, all kids, about the importance of culture and conservation. I think that's the main thing for me, is to do that. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how can people? I'm just looking at how like more people can connect. What pages you've got? This, is it Save Our Songlines? That is the
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Yep.
We've got saveoursonglines.org, which
Yep.
is our website. So we just keep all our information on there. We've had a lot of media around, doing a lot of stories on our steps. So we have got that there. There's also an email to link to Plebiscite, to keep emailing her, keep on her tail about everything really. There's Save Our Songlines campaigns, but there's a lot of campaigns going around. The frack free campaign. There's the Beetaloo mob. There's the Warrangal mob over here, and surrounding areas as well. There's guys in New South Wales. There's the uranium down in. Look, it's just and that's only just to mention a few. So, and they're sort of bigger ones, but there are a lot. There's a lot of stuff happening on country, and Australia's a big place, and it's a beautiful place, and that's the way we want to keep it, right? And you want to be able to take your kids in 2040 to a place in 20 years, and that's not being dug up by a mining company, or the resources taken from there, and the place is dead. And that's basically what's happening, is they're killing the land.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that's the thing. It's almost like, a lot of these companies have had free reign for so long, and we saw what happened with Rio Tinto. Elevating the desecration of a sacred site, and that was so public, and now there's this real I see it as a real uncomfortable position. All of these companies who've just managed to walk over people for so long, and now they're at a point where there is this fight back. So no, it's amazing what you're doing. I really
Thank you.
It's quite inspiring, because when you share like your story, and you saw what you did a few weeks ago at the UN, I think it's really I've seen it happen around down here around Perth, having people sharing it, and the article, and that's quite amazing. But I know that you're we got a bit limited for time today, but
it's all right. Thanks, Tim.
I do really appreciate you coming on. And just quickly, I've usually asked a few people that I've interviewed before, like, do you have sort of what inspires you? Like, is there a song, or is there like a campaign song, or is there something that you listen to that sort of replenishes you to keep going?
Well, yeah, there is. There's a song, like, we have a river song for the women.
Yep.
Do you want me to sing it?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I could do that.
No, yeah.
So it's basically a song, coming down to talk to Mingala, which is God, down to the river, and it's a big part of our law and culture as women to be able to go and talk, and the river systems also are a big part of our songlines as well. So I often sing this song, so I'll just sing it to you. It goes. Naindari bangari na wunduwala, babu nuangai wunduwala, kwai kanangari ma wunduwala, wunduwala wangandari. Kwai turuwala kanangari ma, kwai kanangari ma, kanangari ma, kwai turuwala kanangari ma. Wunduwala baba no wangai. Wunduwala baba no wangai. Wunduwala baba no wangai. There you go.
Thank you. That's amazing.
You're welcome.
No, I really appreciate it. And the lyrics, what were you?
So that's telling the sisters to come down and talk in the river. We just go with that about anything that we need to talk about and connect. That's a connection song. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. And on that
No
note,
worries, Tim.
no, I really appreciate you coming on, and
Yeah.
and what I'll do is I'll make sure that everyone knows what you're doing, and I'll share the links and some of those magnificent the photos of the rock art in the comments. And I want to touch base with you again in the future because
definitely
I'm sure this is moving very quickly, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot more to talk about.
That's true. And just one thing before I go as well is that I also just need to say also a big shout out to my elders and my family up in Roban and Karratha, because without them, they're a big part of everything that we do as well, and we do this for them. I talk for them and the future generations of my people as well. So, and everybody else. So I really want to just do a big shout out to them, and especially my sisters, the Daniel sisters, and Mum Tootsie and Mum Robin Churnside, and all them gangs that have been there fighting this fight for many years. So, yeah.
Cool. Okay. Thanks so much. And
no worries.
Have a great time in Brisbane.
I will. Thanks, Tim.
Okay, thanks. Cool.
See ya.
See ya.
Cool.